I'm joined by Nick Tulloch, chairman at ECR Minerals, following news by the company of its proposed acquisition of the Raglan Gold Project near to its Blue Mountain property in Queensland, Australia. Nick, thanks for coming on today. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you, Dan. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for coming on. So there's lots to discuss today, but can you start by telling us a bit about the Raglan project and how today's deal came to be?
Yeah, of course. So Raglan is between Rockhampton and Gladstone. So I'm talking about Australian geography here, but very near Blue Mountain. So around about an hour and a bit's drive from Blue Mountain. So very much in the same region. As you will have seen from the announcement, it is a turnkey opportunity for gold production. One of the, I think, huge attractions of the acquisition is that it comes not only with the land, but also the mining license and all of the equipment. And to try and sort of put that in context, I mean, they've even built a toilet block and a shower block. The former owners have spent a lot of money and a lot of time planning out this project, and we now have the opportunity to take it on and move very, very quickly into gold production.
Brilliant. Yeah. So you mentioned that the acquisition offers the opportunity to fast track that gold production. Does that come down mainly down to the infrastructure, or is it a result of the prospectivity of the land in the project itself?
It's a combination of all of it. I mean, to take gold out of the ground, you need a mining license. So we have that. You need the equipment on site. We have that. And fairly obviously, as you say, you need to make sure that the ground has got gold in it. I'm pretty cautious in how I approach things, and the same is true of the other members of the board of ECR. So we've had a team on site this week doing due diligence. And by that, they are digging pits on site. They're running the what they're taking out of the pit through the wash plant and determining whether or not they can recover gold. And I guess the fact that we've announced the transaction and proceeding, is a pretty strong indicator that we are happy with the way that diligence is going. We wouldn't be doing it otherwise. I mean, the other thing we want to check on the diligence is, does the plant and equipment work? It's all well and good to say we've got a 60 ton per hour wash plant, but if it's it's all seized up and it's not working or it's not capturing gold, then we haven't really bought very much. I'm happy to report that the diligence is going extremely well, and that was what gave us the confidence to proceed to the announcement.
Okay, cool. So you just need to complete that diligence, and then, assuming it all goes well, you'll be able to formalise this acquisition.
Yeah, it should be reasonably quick. I mean, there's a legal process. The project is owned by two Australian companies. So to acquire the project, we're actually buying the two Australian companies. So there will be I suppose, lawyers on both sides putting together the sale and purchase agreement. But it's not going to be complicated. I mean, these are essentially one project companies. We're not looking at sort of major restructurings or complex documentation. For me, I think the biggest part of the diligence was what I've just mentioned, the on-site diligence, making sure that yes, there is gold, and also that the equipment works. And so, with that level of confidence, we can now move forward to the next stage and getting everything papered up.
Okay, cool. And against that strong backdrop for gold prices that we've got at the moment, and with all that infrastructure in place at Raglan, was there a lot of competition and interest in acquiring the asset?
Yeah, there was. It was actually advertised on an Australian website for a while. In fact, actually, one of our shareholders even spotted the advert rather interestingly a few weeks back. So that in itself attracted a number of prospective buyers. I know we were not the only offer. I believe we've won the transaction or won the project because we put forward a very firm and very clear and very deliverable offer. It's always tempting to try and have contingencies and try and pay in means other than cash. But investors will have seen this in the announcement. This is a business owned by a number of individuals. We're not buying this from a company. So simplicity and deliverability was so important, and we were able to demonstrate that to the sellers. Raising the money as we've done in order to pay the price they require. And I believe from here on in, it'll be a very straightforward transaction.
Good stuff. So the acquisition is being funded in part by a £650,000 raise completed at 0.2p a share. I've seen some shareholders are disappointed at that price, but was the thinking here that this was a big opportunity and you wanted to capitalize on it quickly?
Yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, it is awkward. Every time a company does a fundraise, it's dilutive to those who aren't part of the fundraise. ECR has been in this position before. I mean, personally, I've been in this position where I've been investing in companies that have raised money. So we're not insensitive to how some shareholders have reacted and the disappointment on the price. Kind of as I said a few minutes ago, this is a very, very good opportunity. We're paying 1.1 million Australian dollars. That's pretty much the second-hand value of the equipment we're buying. Arguably, it's the value of the land. We're getting almost like a 2-for-1 deal, you might say, on that basis. It was just too good to turn down. Then when you add on to that, it's so close to Blue Mountain. As we take that into production as well, there'll be synergies between the two operations. Some of the equipment at Raglan can be used at Blue Mountain. There were so many plus points in doing the deal. And again, I don't want to sound insensitive. This is a fundraise to support an acquisition. I mean, other fundraisers I've seen have been to help companies pay electricity bills or put up salaries. There's none of that here. This is a fundraise to support an acquisition that will bring us into revenue faster than we believe we would have otherwise come into revenue, and become, we hope in time, a fairly serious alluvial gold producer. So I apologise to investors who are disappointed, and I'm a shareholder myself. I share that pain, but it was important for the company to do this acquisition, and we will prove to investors over a period of time that this is worthwhile. And I suppose just as a final point, we have added on a retail offer. I know that doesn't cure all ills, but it does mean at least some people who perhaps weren't able to participate in the main raise, you can join in to a smaller extent towards the end of this week. So hopefully that'll help a little bit. But again, we appreciate how shareholders feel, but we hope they'll trust us and see that this is an extremely good acquisition for ECR.
Yes, so a raise and an acquisition for growth then. And I guess that leads me to my final question, which is, what will the next steps be in terms of news flow from, I guess, both Blue Mountain and Raglan from here?
Well, we've got quite a busy sort of last quarter of the year. So Raglan, of course, we have the diligence to complete. So I'm very, very happy with how that's going. And we've got a legal process to complete. I don't foresee any issues there. And then that will take us to the conclusion of the acquisition. And then we'll start talking about when we're going to bring that into production. At Blue Mountain, we still have 2 sets of samples in with labs for 2 areas that were drilled during August. So they'll come back shortly. I think as people know from reading our announcements, we have a drill rig on site at Lulworth at the moment. So we'll shortly have results there. We have a joint venture to complete at Kreswick in Victoria. So we're fighting on a number of fronts. And I think people should expect quite a lot of news out of ECR. You can see the direction of travel. We're very focused on Queensland. We're very focused on alluvial gold. If we can extract value from some of our other assets, like Kreswick through a joint venture, we're absolutely going to do that. So over the next few weeks, months, there should be a fair bit to talk about.
Right, and you're all sort of working towards getting that production going.
It's all about production. I mean, ECR is a company that's been going for around about 20 years. We're an explorer. We've been called an explorer. The time has come to graduate into, secondary school and become a producer. For the last year, we've been mostly talking about Blue Mountain. That remains our flagship asset, and still does despite the acquisition of Raglan. But Raglan is a shorter-term opportunity, and I say the synergies between Raglan and Blue Mountain, in its location, in the ability to share equipment, and the ability to test some techniques at Raglan before we move to Blue Mountain. There's some really interesting opportunities here. As I say, it was a good deal wherever it was, but the fact it's almost our next door neighbour just makes it an extraordinary deal.
Absolutely. Great. Well, thanks again for coming on today, Nick, and I look forward to hearing more from ECR soon.
Terrific. Thanks, Dan.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programmes at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.